All right. Hello, everybody. January 21st here. We've had our transfer of balance of power take place yesterday. And so far, the world has not fallen apart yet. Still waiting for that. But all indicators are that business is as usual so far. At least for those that are doing business. I know a lot of still, the world hasn't changed. We didn't go back to normal just yet, but I know in my particular business, it's accelerating. It's like, holy shit. It's like, I got to get a hold of the reins here before this horse gets away from me. So pretty interesting times that we live in here. But anyway, where are you guys at? I see we have a very intimate crowd here. Mr. Wolf and Mr. Roy there. What are you guys up to?
Oh, only three of us, really.
Just the three of us so far.
Awesome. What an honor.
Maybe the world did fall apart and we're the only ones left.
We didn't get the memo.
Yeah. Well, the good thing was Kartra got straightened out with authorized.net. So that turned out to be not a problem as I was led to believe. So it's all good there.
Yeah. Authorized Net's really cool. I've used them for, God, probably 15 years now. And I tried a bunch of different ones, in the beginning. And as soon as I went to them, I've never gone back. They've integrated with everything. They've, over the years, they've increased their services. They do recurring billing and all that stuff, even through their own control panel. But I've always run my recurring billing through other software like Kartra, for instance, or my billing software I use through WHMCS. That's a company. They were geared toward the hosting industry. That's why I went with them, because that's where I really began my internet side, was through hosting. And I set up with them, over 20 years ago. And they did, they had the recurring billing for hosting accounts and web development and all that. And I still run all of that stuff through that system today. So I have two separate systems. I run the billing for all my hosting clients, all my web development, that all runs through WHMCS. And then I've shut down everything else except for Kartra. Everything else I do runs through Kartra. All my special deals, all my memberships, all that stuff. And I absolutely love it. I have in the back of my mind considered moving the hosting stuff over to Kartra as well, but I'm just far too lazy to do that. I've got too many customers over there, and it would be a month's worth of work to do that transition. And I'm just, there's no reason for it. It runs perfectly. It's like, if something is not broken, I have no interest in fixing it. But that's why I have two systems. You guys might realize, like, if you come in for hosting and web development, it's billed through a different system. That's why I've got those two running, and so far so good. They'll just work. But Authorized Net is like, that is my favorite gateway of all. If I'm working with a customer and they're looking at merchant accounts, that's the first thing I tell them, is make sure whatever merchant account you go with, they offer Authorized Net, because there's some that don't. There's some of these, off the wall, third party, charge providers, whatever you want to call them, merchant providers, and they have their own proprietary stuff, and they're a mess. They don't integrate with hardly anything, and you've got to do custom things, and it's just a mess. So, and here's another thing. If any of you guys, you might not be in it yourself, but you might know somebody that's in it. There's a lot of businesses that have trouble getting a merchant provider. like if they're in the CBD oil stuff, if they're in supplements, if they're in anything at all that's controversial in any way, shape, or form, adult industry, any of that stuff, they have trouble getting merchant providers. And I've actually reconnected with this guy. He runs a company that actually services those type of accounts.
Oh, interesting.
So he can get merchant providing services for high risk businesses. And it's cool. I met him years ago at one of the trade shows I was at, and he was handing out shirts, and on the shirt was printed "risky business." And that's kind of his hook. He had a great hook. Everybody wanted those shirts. He handed out, got thousands of those shirts at this trade show. And back to the whole big idea. How do you grab people's attention? That's a great way. A shirt, risky business. It's perfect for him. And when he contacted me, I was actually thinking about him because I had a client contact me a couple weeks ago, and they're in the adult industry, and they were having trouble with the merchant provider. And I was trying to reconnect the dots of who is this guy? Who is the guy with the risky business t-shirts? And this was a good thing he did and a bad thing he did, because I still have one of the shirts in my desk. Didn't have his URL on it.
Whoa, that's no
I'm
good.
like, I couldn't find him. I knew who he was, but I couldn't find him because he missed that piece. He didn't, he had the great attention grabber, but he didn't have the way to hook it back to, 2 years from now, because I still remember the shirt. I remember the slogan. I remember the attention grabber, but I don't remember his contact information. So out of the blue, he called me, and I was like, I think I know who you are. I'm like, you're the guy with the risky business shirts, aren't you? And he started laughing. He's like, yep, that was me. And I'm like, awesome. You got to send me your contact information. I said, when you send me the email, put risky business in the subject matter so I know who you are.
Yeah.
Because I get these emails all the time from all of these guys, and most of them are scam artists. So it's really good to have that thing that people associate you with.
Yeah.
That's part of branding. That is part of his branding, is risky business. So Allie, yeah, go ahead.
John, sorry I got on a little bit late.
No problem.
What's the topic that you were initially commenting, and who do you recommend that make sure people use?
Oh, well, we were talking about merchant accounts. Roy he was having trouble with Kartra and getting his merchant account thing set up and all that. And I recommend AuthorizeNet as if they're not a merchant provider. AuthorizeNet is a gateway. It's a payment gateway. So the way this works, it's kind of a multi-part thing. A merchant provider, what they do is they work between the credit card company and your bank. So they take the money from the credit card company and they pass it through to you. Now, to do that on a website, you needed what's called a gateway, because you need a way to connect now your merchant provider to your bank through the internet, and you need a gateway for that. So authorize.net is the gateway that I definitely recommend. I've used a lot of them, and that's the one I would go with. Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, I just want to share, working with Barbara with authorize.net was painless. She's super supportive. She just went above and beyond, in my opinion, just to make it easy and answer all my questions. And then Kartra, can be intimidating and complex, but I want to tell a story because I sold 2 website packages in the last week, and one of them said, oh, I have to pay by credit card, and I got a new phone, and my credit card processor doesn't fit in my phone. I needed an adapter, and then the other person is from Canada, and we were trying to pay these other ways of paying, and literally, what was it? Yesterday morning, from 7 a.m. to 7:20, I went into Kartra, I made two different product variations for deluxe web package deposit. I sent them the links, and I was paid by noon through authorized.net.
Whoa, that's great.
I know. I just want to share, like, it's so worth it. I was so excited.
That's cool.
And the Canadian dollar conversion, everything, just smooth as silk.
Yeah, yeah. And Barbara Cunningham, she's part of Craig's group. If you guys don't know her and you need the connection, just reach out to me and I'll hook you up. I'll send you and her an email and join you guys up. And I think that's what I did with Jim. Was I just connected him an email with Barbara and she took it from there. She's awesome.
Yeah.
Now her attention grabber. This is what Barbara Cunningham does that is unique to her. And I swear I will remember her forever for this. You guys need to think about this stuff of what you can do to get people to remember you forever. And with Barbara, she will send out thank you notes. And in the thank you note, she does origami with dollar bills. So she'll send you like she sent me a dog. She sent me, like, on Valentine's Day, she'll send me a heart. When I send her a new client, she'll send me a star. And it's just really cool to receive this stuff. And they're in like a little plastic thing. They're like collectibles, but she folds them out of dollars. And every time I've been at a mastermind group with her, I see her over there, and she's sitting there listening to the mastermind, but she's folding up dollars. And it's just the coolest thing. And that's one of the things that she does that I swear I will remember her forever for that. I'll never forget her. And just like the guy with the risky business shirt, you got to figure out, like, what's the thing that you can give people to really make them remember you. Lead magnets are great, but this is what I'm talking about is a step above. This is something else. Like the t-shirt thing. People wear those shirts. Make sure that when you do something like that, you're doing a giveaway, you always put your brand on it, not just your tagline, not just the cool thing. Always let them, lead back to you, because it's not just them. Other people are seeing that. Like when those shirts are being worn, other people are seeing that. That's free advertising for you. It's like, anybody that's seen my trucks, all of my cars and stuff, they've all got the Internet Dominators branding on them. And here's something that I did a little bit differently. I'm telling you all to put, how to contact you on your stuff, right? Well, the Internet Dominator brand itself is kind of an attention grabber. When people see that, they're like, oh, wow, that's really cool. I get told that almost on a daily basis, what a cool name that is. How did I get that? How did you get to be Internet Dominators? I was just the first one to think of it and register the domain name. That's it. And so here's what I did. And this is an SEO trick, believe it or not. This is taking offline and bringing it online for power. I did not put .com on my logo. I just put Internet Dominators. So when somebody goes to Google and they put in Internet Dominators, naturally I'm going to come up number one, right? When they click on it, that is a search signal that's going to send a user right into my site and send Google, their AI, that thing of, hey, people know Internet Dominators. So it works for SEO. Whenever you can get someone to do something outside the norm that leads to you on the internet, Google sees that. Their AI is watching. So, several people have told me, oh, you made a big mistake. You didn't put internetdominators.com. And I'm like, it wasn't really a mistake. It was very intentional. I don't want people to put in, I don't want them to go direct. I want them to go to the search and look for Internet Dominators, knowing I'm going to come up. No one else comes up for that.
That's a great idea.
So when you can do something like that, I see this all the time, and it's getting more and more. There's really savvy savvy businesses doing this. Big companies are doing this now. You'll see advertisements, and I've seen this with several different car manufacturers. They, at the end of the ad, instead of putting up their URL, they put up an animated search box and they tell you what to type in the search. I mean, that's brilliant. From an SEO strategy, that's brilliant to use television advertising to drive your search signals. You know, we created a site pop software that does that for people, but big companies now are getting on the bandwagon. They're figuring it out. Their ad agencies know that these search signals are very powerful. They just don't know how to get them. They don't have site pop. So they're having to figure out, how do we get people to run these searches? So in the ad themselves, like in the television ad, it was, when I first saw this, it blew me away that they actually showed the Google search box, and they actually showed an animated thing of someone typing in the keyword they want you to search for. I was like, wow, that's freaking awesome. That's power, that's leverage, that's using your head. So that's how these big companies, you know, and car companies are leading the way. I've seen a couple other companies do it, but the first ones I saw doing it were the car companies. And what was it? Pontiac. Pontiac was actually the first one I saw. They had a really cool commercial, and they didn't even tell you the name of the car. You just, you know, after seeing the commercial, it's like, oh my God, I want to learn more about that. And then up pops the search box, and they gave you the exact keyword phrase to find it. I was like, holy crap, that was beautiful. So that's a search engine trick. Believe it or not, that's an SEO trick. You can do the same thing with press releases. Anytime you're publishing information, you can actually put the visuals to seed what you want people to do. Calls to action come in many forms. So if you want people to search for something, give them a visual. Do what Pontiac did. Show the search box with the keyword in there that they should search for. Say, go to Google and check this if you're interested, instead of giving them the link. Make them work for it a little bit. They'll do it. It's amazing. People will do what they're told to do. And I know it blows my mind, because I don't know about you guys, but I hate being told what to do. and I have just come to the reality that really isn't true. It's only when I don't want to be told what to do. I don't want to be told what to do. But if I'm trying to figure something out, I absolutely want to be told what to do, because I don't want to have to figure it out. So there's a differentiation there. People actually, whether you think you do or don't, you really want to be told what to do. You want the easy button. So the more you can tell people what to do, that's your calls to action. You know, Frank Kern, he made this phrase famous. It wasn't his to begin with. I think it was Carlton. But they said, here's the 3-step formula. Whenever you've got somebody on your website or in your marketing or whatever, you want to follow this 3-step formula. It's, here's what I've got. Here's what it's going to do for you. Here's what I want you to do next. And the 3rd step there is telling them what to do. You know, maybe you tell them, hey, search for this keyword phrase if you want more information. That would work for SEO. If you might say, click the link below and enter your name and email address, but tell them exactly what to do. Don't tell them just click the link below. Tell them click the link below and tell me where to send it by putting your name and email address in. Swear to God, that stuff works. As stupid as it sounds, it works. People love to be told what to do. And the more detailed you are, the more it will convert. And, you know, and I know that sounds like, you know, we're teaching kindergarten class. Maybe we are. You know, the subconscious, we've got the two parts of our mind. We've got the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is like a kindergartner. It's like a little kid. It wants what it wants when it wants it, and it doesn't want to have to do anything for it. It just wants shit to fall from the sky. So just tell it what to do. It'll just do it. Go ahead, Jeff.
Hey, I've got a question about diversifying away from the big social media sites like Facebook. Are there other, one of the things that I've been looking at is using Slack as a discussion group for when we're running training programs, rather than Facebook groups. Do you have recommendations on what are some good alternatives to explore?
Push that out for approval now?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are trying to get away from the big ones like that. It's especially LinkedIn. I don't know if you're working in LinkedIn or not, but LinkedIn's just become a garbage pot. It drives me nuts. I don't even really want to be a part of it anymore, because I get emails every day from people in LinkedIn. Every time I log into my LinkedIn account, I see I've got 150 messages, and it's all spammers. It's all garbage. And I don't have time to sift through that crap to see if maybe I've got a good lead in there or not. In Facebook, there's a lot of noise on Facebook. It's massive. I'm not really sure. It's still a good channel though. These big social media outlets, it depends on what you're trying to do.
Well, I don't want to abandon them. I just want to not be dependent on them. So kind of spread it, spread the love, so to speak, so that we're in good other productive areas, so that it's not just it's way too dependent on Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube. So looking at, okay, how do we continue to spread around what we're doing, so that if I'm linked, because I don't talk politics on Facebook because I'm there for business.
I'm sorry, guys. Can you let silence everybody else but Jeff, because
no, that's me. We're co-located in the same office for the moment. I haven't fixed that yet. It doesn't work, but okay. I'm stuck with it. We got multiple people talking.
Yeah, it was distracting. I couldn't hear what you guys were talking about.
Yeah, but anyway, diversifying, you definitely want to look at all the new and upcoming things. Like there's the new Clubhouse deal. Tim Gillette, he does that. He podcasts, he's on all kinds of social media. He's always coming up with different stuff. I'm like, what the hell is that? He's like, oh, it's the new one. Any new up and coming social media platform, you want to get in early. And again, do what I say, not what I do. I don't work much in social media stuff myself. Not to say that it's not good. Any place where your audience is congregating, it's a good thing to show up there and have a presence. And, if you've got time to participate. And that could even be setting up your own group for people to come and be part of. When you've got something that a lot of people are interested in, groups work great. Most social media places will allow you to set up a group, like Facebook groups. There's some groups in Facebook that have, hundreds of thousands of people. The group owner has access to all those people. So, that's a pretty powerful forum. So any place where you can find, like I know in your comment, you had mentioned BeeKonnected. BeeKonnected, that's an up and comer. It's not got the power of, Facebook and LinkedIn yet. It may someday. It's definitely a good place for you to be. If nothing else, you want to get into BeeKonnected just to list yourself in there so other people can start finding you. That's a really good strategy. Is whenever you set up a profile, whether it's BeeKonnected or LinkedIn or whatever, don't make the mistake of creating a profile that looks like a resume. If all you're doing is talking about yourself and look at me, nobody cares about that. What your profile should be is what you can do for them. Remember the formula, the Carlton formula that Kern has spread like wildfire. Here's what I've got. Here's what it's going to do for you. And here's what I want you to do next. That's what your profile should consist of. Not, and I know they've got a lot of places for all your accolades and all of that stuff. And yeah, sure, fill it out. But when it comes to the part of here's my summary, here's my written profile, focus on them, not on you. Yeah. Have the accolades in there because they need to be in there. But when it comes to the written stuff, the summaries, all that, here's what I've got. Here's what it's going to do for you. Here's what to do next. Always give them a contact. Always give them your website. Always give them your phone number. I see so many people that don't want to give out contact information. It's like, what are you hiding from? We're doing business. It's like giving out business cards and not having your phone number on it. Who the hell would do that? I mean, really, who would do that? Is that effective? Yeah, go ahead, Randy.
You said something interesting and just made me think about it because I put a connection. I got back onto someone's calendar for the second time from BeeKonnected. So this lady reached out to me on BeeKonnected, and she's got a lot of power behind her, a lot of connections, a lot of different things going on, and a lot of energy. So we connected, and probably everyone says that when they talk with this particular person. But the thing I want to point out is it's not about, like you said, we're always trying to get lots of people to pay attention to us. And I think we forget, and I'm new at this, but I think we forget that it only takes one or two of the right people to really exponentially move you to the next level. And so that's really the name of the game. I don't know that it's, at least it's part of the game, because this particular person said, Randy, I want you to come speak. I want you to do this, get on my calendar, let's connect again and talk again. And that was just one person out of BeeKonnected. And although I have other connections, I haven't really connected. But like you said, it's up and coming, but it's a good place to be, even if you meet one person and connect with that person, and that leads to something else.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, BeeKonnected, it might not have the millions of people that LinkedIn has, but it has some really quality people in there. And
but every time someone reaches out on LinkedIn to me, and I looked at 15 of them today, they're nice people, I'm sure, but they're trying to sell you and they don't even know anything about you.
Yeah. They're just
trying to sell.
Yeah. What I see LinkedIn as now, it's like walking onto a used car lot. It's like, you're walking down the sidewalk, and as soon as you take a turn to step onto that pavement, there's 10 of them running your direction. It's like, oh shit, get me out of here. That's what it's like.
And you're yelling, no, I'm just get here to get my car serviced. Well, what about a new car?
Yeah, exactly. They're just all over you. It's like bees on honey. So yeah, it's just, that is what LinkedIn has become. But
one of the things you were talking about when you said, I don't know if you said, I interpret it as make it easy for people to connect or get through to you. And one of the things that I've always seen as frustrating, I'm in the car, I see a truck, it happens to be a truck, it could be XYZ Plumbing, whatever their service is. And in the back of my mind, I've been thinking about that service for a while. But the advertisement, like the logo, you can't even figure out the phone number from sitting behind them. If you could take a picture of it, it still wouldn't come out. Yeah. And people don't understand their advertisement, even on their vehicles, needs to be easy to read and see and all that.
Yeah.
Or they're losing business. And many times I'm like, oh, well, I won't be able to connect with them.
Yeah.
Somebody else.
It's good that you said that, because that brought up another thought. This is a really key point. And this goes back to branding. When you're creating your branding, you need to create branding that's easy to remember. This is like with radio ads. This is super important because you've got people in drive time. They're on the freeway. They're listening in. they're not going to remember a phone number. Same thing when you put graphics on a vehicle. I don't care how big you make the numbers, they're not going to remember your phone number. You know, if they're really crafty, they'll have their cell phone and they'll shoot a picture of it. You know, I do that all the time now. But if they're really smart, they'll have the company name that is the same as the web address that they can remember, like Internet Dominators. When people see that on my car, Internet Dominators, I don't put the phone number on there because they're never going to remember it. It's a waste of time. They can find it. If they've got a phone, they can find my phone number in about 3 seconds. Internet Dominators, boom, there's my phone number. So make sure that they can remember it. Like I said, radio ads, super important that you give them something they can walk away from listening to that when they get home. You know, they've done their hour on the freeway. Now they get home. What was that phone number? Gone, opportunity lost. If you can give them something they can remember, they can type in their computer and boom, up you come, you won the game. And tell them to do that. Just tell them, they go, forget the phone number. Phone number's on my website. Just go to, you know, whatever.com or go to Google and search for, you know, this keyword. Tell them exactly what to search for and make damn sure that what you tell them to search for, you come up first for.
Go to nottompetty.com.
Yeah, exactly. So, but make sure that if you tell them to type a keyword in, make sure you're the number one result that's going to come up for that. Otherwise, you can drive them to your competitor. So this is another reason why you want to create a unique brand. Unique brands always come up first in Google. When you use the old SEO guru trick of using exact match keywords that have nothing to do with your brand, you're competing. Your chances of coming up number one are still pretty limited. So when people go and run that search, you're going to drive them right to your competitor. You do not want to do that. Always have a unique brand that is uniquely yours. You know, don't use generic stuff for your for your brand name. It's not a good idea. It was an SEO trick 15 years ago that got exploited to the hilt. And unfortunately, it still kind of works a little bit because having your keyword in your brand can be important, but it's got to be unique if they're going to type it in and find you. Just generic keywords, you've got everyone in the world competing for them, and your odds of coming up first for it's pretty slim. When it's a unique one, you're number one, always. So that's something to keep in mind. And this is back to the very beginning with, you know, where this would fit in. This would fit into the ACT program in the analysis phase. When you're creating your branding, what phase are you in ACT? You're in the C, you're in the creation mode. You always create based on analysis. I see so many people jump into creation and they start creating stuff and it's not based on any analysis. It's based on whatever thought pops into their head. Sometimes they're good, most of the times not. Always base everything you create on your analysis. If you're creating stuff for a non-existent market, you're just wasting your time. You're spinning your wheels. Always do the market research first. The market will always tell you what they want, and then you can create around that. That is the way to go. I mean, that will lead you to the path of success the fastest every time. Otherwise, I mean, I see this over and over and over. Someone creates something that they think is cool, and then they find out they have to create a market that matches it. Well, that's pretty expensive, creating a market. Educating people to create a market. I don't think anyone on this call has that kind of ad budget. I know I certainly don't, nor would I ever want to. You know, like that's something Coca-Cola could do. Coca-Cola could create a market. They have the money, they have the wherewithal to create a monster brand that came out of nowhere, that all of a sudden people want this energy drink or whatever. They have the budget to do that. They can create a market. We can't. We have to operate with a much sharper sword than that if we want to win. Because this is something I learned a long time ago. If you go into something, if you go into a situation where you don't have the money to complete whatever it is, you're not going to win. You're just not going to win. Like, here's something that in Las Vegas will get you escorted to the door. If you go to Vegas and you get on the craps table and you bet with the house, like you bet on the pass line with the house rarely loses more than 3 times in a row. Very rare, right? So if you bet with the house and you lose, you double the bet down. If you double the bet down and the house loses the second time, you double the bet down. You're not going to lose more than 3 times in a row. But if they see you doing this, you're going to get escorted to the door because they don't want you to have the same advantage they have. But again, if you didn't have the money in your pocket to do that, you would probably wind up losing because that's gambling. What I told you was a formula. That's a formula for success. It's not gambling. The house is not going to lose that many times in a row. That's a fact. That's not a gamble. That's a formula. They will not let you use formulas in their casinos. But in real life, you have the advantage. You can use formulas. That's why I created ACT. Every step of the way has a formula for here's how you do this. Here's how you win, and here's how you win every time. These formulas work not just once, they work every time you use them. It's like, 1 + 1 is going to be 2 today, tomorrow, the next day, and probably for your kids and grandkids. Probably going to still work for them too. It's like when you bake a cake and you use a recipe, you can bake the same cake next week and it's going to taste just as good, unless you change the recipe or you don't follow the recipe. You don't have a recipe. You don't know what you're going to get then. And unfortunately, that's the way most people run their business. They do not use a recipe. They're just throwing shit up to the wall, seeing what'll stick. And usually we don't have enough money to throw that much shit to get something to really stick. And that's when you fail. They call it undercapitalization. That's one of the big reasons for business failure, is being undercapitalized. Well, if you plan your business smart and you use strategy and you use formulas, you don't need a big budget. You can get a very successful business off the ground with next to no money. If you use strategy, you use common sense, you use the formulas, and it works. You can scale up a very nice business out of almost nothing if you do it right. But if you're trying to create stuff and then build a market around it, that's not the formula. You can do that if you've got a massive ad budget. Like I use the example of Coca-Cola. Big companies like that, Johnson & Johnson, they can create new products. They have the budget to advertise on television and get millions of eyeballs into an education process to teach them, hey, there's this new thing that you didn't know about, that you didn't know you needed, but now you do, and now you want it. They use the same process though. It's always grab attention, create demand and desire, eliminate objections, and make an offer. It's always the same formula. It's the same recipe to bake that cake. They're just doing it in a way that is very expensive, which we don't have to take that recipe. We can use the same recipe on a different cake. Let's do chocolate instead of vanilla, right? So, all right. Anybody else? What else can we accomplish here today? Allie, go ahead.
Hey, John, just going off of that, the logic of this whole conversation, is there a way, like in your, my question is, how would you leverage your connections, like create joint venture partnerships to, um, aggregate some action with and grabbing attention, creating demand and desire, overcoming objections and objections. And then what was the last one?
Making an offer.
Yeah, I always call that call to action, making an offer.
Yeah, well, what that is, that's not really leveraging my connections. That's what that is that's creating a sales process. If I don't have a sales process, there's no connections I can leverage to scale my business. But like for me, for instance, what I look for in a connection is I look for somebody that has done the work that I don't want to do. Like somebody that has already built a list and I have a product that doesn't compete with the list owner, but it also, the product that I have in hand would benefit the audience of the list owner. And the list owner can make some money off of the hard work they did to build that list. So it's a win-win for everybody. The reason that any influencer builds a list is to make money. They typically make the first part of their money with whatever it is that they do or they sell. But in the process, they've built this massive asset in their business, which is called their list. So when you come to them with a non-competing product and you say, hey, you want to have a little win-win here? You've got an audience, I've got a product, you can make money, I can make money, we can all be happy together here. That's where I would use that influence to find an influencer to do that. That's where I would leverage connections. Like I might have something that comes up in the CEO space type of thing. And I could reach out to Jeff Wolf and say, Jeff, you've built an audience of adventure CEO. You've got all these guys, you've done great. Hey, I've got something they might really like. Would you like to bring it to them? Make a few bucks in the process. That would be leveraging a connection. I might go to Jeff and say, hey, Jeff, my product kind of doesn't match your audience, but do you have anybody in your audience that you think would have a list that would match this? And he might say, yeah, I've got the perfect guy for you. And I say, well, how would you like to become the broker and make 10% for making that introduction? So that's another way. Whenever I'm trying to use connections and make connections, I always use the incentive, and it's the same damn thing. It's here's what I've got, here's what it's going to do for you, here's what I want you to do next. And in that scenario I just painted with Jeff, it's like, here's what I've got something that would benefit your audience. You're going to make a pile of money if you introduce it to them. Here's what I want you to do. Let's schedule an appointment to do a webinar. Here's the emails. I'm going to tell them exactly what to do. Here's the email you send out on day 1. Here's the email you send out on day 2. Here's day 3. Then we show up on the webinar. You introduce me. I do my presentation. I make the offer. You get paid in the X amount of days. It's an exact formula. So whatever you want, you need to find the person that can make that happen and just follow that formula. That's how you would leverage connections. Now, your sphere of connectors might not have what you need, but they're connected to others that are connected to others. So all you have to do is ask and just be very specific when it comes to the part of here's what I want you to do next. I've seen some people that they will sit an audience down and say, I want you to take out a pen and paper and write down the 3 people that you know that, and then they fill in the blanks. And then they do that. And then they say, now you know the 3 people to reach out to connect to do this. And then they tell them what to do. So you just need to kind of think in those kind of terms for your business of what do you want to accomplish and who are the people that could make that happen for you. And then figure out, okay, how am I going to approach them in a way that's going to be very attractive, that's going to grab their attention, going to create demand and desire. I might need to eliminate some objections. That's fine. And then I'm going to make the offer. The offer might not be to sell them something. The offer might be to sell them on the idea that they're going to introduce you to their audience and do a webinar where you're both going to make a good amount of money. That's an offer. Offers come in a lot of shapes and sizes. It's not just a, hey, here's my product, here's how much it costs, do you want to buy it? That's a type of an offer. But an offer might be, hey, I have a product, I'm looking for a joint venture broker, somebody that can connect me to the right people and take a 10% cut off the top. That's an offer. There's another offer out to the affiliate, so there's a ton of different offers I don't think people consider when they're planning their business out. The more of these things that you do, the more you will convert. The more you can really logically think about the path through your business. And Todd Brown, he calls it the flywheel. He calls it the flywheel because the flywheel in a car, it's like a heavy disc. And the job of the engine is to get that flywheel moving. So once it's going, once it's turning, nothing can stop it. It's like the car moves easily. It takes a lot of fuel. It takes a lot of energy to get the car moving. But once the car is moving, because this big flywheel is in motion, it's like once that energy's got going to spin it, now it's going to freewheel and it's going to drive that car with a minimal amount of effort. Like you notice, to get your car going, you have to step on the gas. And then as the car starts going faster, what do? You bring up on the gas because you don't need it anymore, because the flywheel is in motion. Your business operates the same thing. It's a machine, just like your car. You have to step on the gas to get it going, but then that flywheel starts going. And then it gets easier. Then you can back off and it will still run on its own if you've set it up properly. So the flywheel in your business is that exact path. What do I need to do? What are the pieces I need to put in place? And think about it. It's hard work to get that first broker. It's hard work to get the first affiliate. It's hard work to get those first webinars in place. But once you do, that's the part you've stepped on the gas. Now you can let back because now you've done it. You've got the process. It's so easy to replicate it. And now you've got your numbers. Think about how much easier it is to sell the second webinar when you can go to that list owner and say, hey, we did a webinar for Bob last week. He converted at 34%, put a pile of money in his pocket. Now it's not speculation. Now it's not a test. It's a proven thing that now the next guy can do. He can jump on. It also builds a little bit of FOMO in him of, oh shit, Bob did that. I went in on it. Yeah, it gets an easier yes. It's the flywheel concept in motion. Things get easier once you've put the initial gas in to get it moving.
Hey, John, so when you talk about the 4-step sales process, when you think of grab attention, you're basically asking I'm guessing that you're asking yourself, where do my people hang out? Where do I think that my target audience is at? And then find that place, right?
That doesn't have anything to do with the attention. That's the T. That's the T in ACT. That's the traffic portion. Okay. That's your last piece. When you're grabbing attention, that's going to be up on the front end of the campaign. Okay. And what you want to do with the front end, how you grab attention is called the big idea. Okay. If you do nothing else, get familiar with how to create big ideas. There's a formula for it. Now, when you're doing that, like, how do you come up with that? Your market research is always going to dictate what that big idea is. There's been all the guys in traditional advertising, they have said this over and over and over. Big ideas do not come out of their head. Big ideas come out of the market research. The market will tell you, and here's some of the questions you've got to ask, whether you're asking these to yourself or to your actual audience, is what is important to them? What makes a difference to them? What do they want and why do they want it? When you know those things, coming up with big ideas will become a lot easier because you'll be basing the promise. Remember, a big idea comes in, there's 3 pieces to it. There's the promise. You have to have the promise of the desired outcome, right? The second thing is you've got to have a unique mechanism that makes it believable. If you don't have a unique mechanism, you're going to lose them. Yeah, you hit them with the promise, but you didn't lock it in with showing them that you really have a way to deliver it. And the other thing you have to do, the third piece to that is you got to say it in a way they've never heard it before. So it's unique.
So when you say unique mechanism, you're talking about the process, the product, however it is that you get them to where they want to go.
Yes, a unique mechanism is the thing. Think of it this way. It's what actually delivers the result. Like in the diet pill, it's the Garcinia cambogia. It's the unique mechanism that you are offering that delivers the result. Like they've tried the diet pill over and over and over. It didn't work and they've given up on it. So if you're going to come and you're going to grab attention of a market that has thrown in the towel, you damn well better show up with a new message, a new angle. That's a big idea. So Garcinia cambogia, this is why ours works. This is the thing that delivers the result. And then they say, oh, that's new. I want that. It automatically creates demand and desire by doing that. And then you say it in a way they've never heard it. You know, you say our diet pill, meaning that's different. Our diet pill, you're already starting off with this is different. Our diet pill has Garcinia cambogia, which is the active ingredient that actually does the work. That's a unique mechanism. And you can even say it. This is the thing that does the work. Like when somebody wants to lose weight, the last thing they want to do is work. They don't want to work out. They don't want to stop eating. They don't want to do anything. They just want what they want. They want the weight gone. So when you have something that does the work for them, all of a sudden now, that's really appealing. That's part of the promise. You know, the promise could be, hey, lose weight without dieting. That's a promise. The heart loves that. But the head steps in the way immediately and says, that's bullshit. I've heard that before. That's bullshit. Their bullshit meter just goes through the roof. But when you come in with a unique mechanism, now you're appealing to the logic. You're like, oh, I see why it works now. Okay. Heart can have what it wants. Because I've said this over and over and over. You have to seduce the heart with promise, but you have to convince the head with logic. Because the head is what's going to create the objection. That's a major objection when they can say bullshit. That's a huge objection. You are not going to sell a single product when the head is screaming bullshit. It ain't going to happen. You have to eliminate that objection. So that's a way that you can eliminate an objection before it even surfaces by giving them the proof, the unique mechanism. That's why it's part of the formula. The big idea formula is so powerful. It's unmeasurably powerful. If you look at big companies, they use this formula over and over and over on everything. They don't run a campaign without it because they know it will fail. So, and I just can't stress that enough. The big idea concept is the backbone of any ad campaign because it's the grab attention piece. If you can't grab attention, it's like playing pinball and the tilt light just went off. It's game over. You know, you're putting a new quarter in, you're starting again. So, and I'm sorry if I keep repeating myself. I know I say this stuff over and over and over on every call, but it's so important and all roads lead back to it.
Well, I think it's important that you are repeating it because for us who have not, it's not ingrained in us yet. It's one of those things you keep, I wrote it down 3 or 4 times and as you say it,
Yeah.
It's starting to sink in. Yeah.
And
Hey, John, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Um, One of the things that I'm giving away is a buyer's guide. It's also, with the change of a few words, a seller's guide.
Mm-hmm.
If my big idea is when you order this and you do the guide, your subconscious goes to work and makes you a better seller with gonna make more money just by doing the outline in that guide. Is that the big idea?
Well,
Yeah, I mean,
let
is
me,
that your
what,
is that your promise of a unique mechanism?
well, here's what you're missing there. You're missing the promise. What you have to do is you have to figure out why they want the guide and what it's going to do for them. That's going to be the basis of your promise. The guide itself is your unique mechanism to deliver the result. So you package it up as you have to have a promise on the front end. You have to have a thing that delivers that result. That's your guide. So your guide is the unique mechanism. So you need to come up with a unique name for it that if they Google it, they're not going to find something generic. It's your thing. And then, you know, you've got the promise, you've got the guide, and then you say it in a way they've never heard it before, which is kind of your story of, hey, this very successful guy came out of retirement to share the secret with people that are in need of help right now because of what's going on in the economy. So that's your way to say it intellectually interestingly. So that's your three pieces: is the promise up front, the what's going to deliver this promise, and how can you say it in a way that's unique, and interesting, that they've never heard, that draws them in. Stories draw people in. Like if you came in and say, hey, you know, I was really successful. I sold millions and millions of dollars of real estate, and I was able to retire because of my success. But, you know, sitting back here in my recliner and I see all these people suffering, I feel bad for that. And I think I want to share what I know to help the world. I know you guys want X, Y, Z, whatever the promise is. So I have packaged up what you need to deliver that outcome in this free guide. That's exactly how you do it. So that's your story. That's the intellectually interesting thing that they haven't heard before. You've got your unique mechanism. You have to figure out your promise to tie it all together. The promise really is the first thing. When you see headlines, it's always keyed into that promise first, because that's what the heart is, what you have to seduce. You're seducing the heart with promise. And sometimes, believe it or not, that's the hardest thing to do for a lot of us, is figure out the real nitty gritty behind what somebody really wants and why they want it, so you can come up with a good promise. The stuff isn't easy. It's not easy, and don't feel bad that I have to say it over and over before you get it, because I had to hear it over and over before I got it. So I'm no different. I'm just a couple of steps ahead of you, which is why I can lead you, you know, where you want to go. But I wasn't always there. I didn't know this stuff to begin with. I didn't know what I knew. I was learning this stuff from ad agencies for years, but it took me quite a while to really figure out what I had and what to do with it.
Hey, John, your market research doesn't have to be that technical. It can be as simple as asking people
Yeah,
what they're struggling with.
absolutely. It could be as simple as, this happens a lot. It could be as simple as, you are the market. Like, for instance, I have one of my clients, she had what's called Hashimoto's disease, which is a underactive thyroid for the most part. And it was causing her turmoil in her life. I mean, her life was upside down because of this disease. She kept going to doctor after doctor, spending money, and nothing was helping her. So she was the market. she found out there wasn't just her, there's a massive market of people just like her. So what she did was she did the research herself on how to fix the disease. She created a supplement on her own that she took and healed herself. And what she did was then she packaged it up to sell to other people. So in her case, she knew exactly who they were because she was one of them. So she knew exactly what they were feeling. She knew exactly what they wanted because it was what she wanted. So the market research could be as simple as being you. A lot of times products that we create are based out of necessity. We create them for ourselves in many cases, and then we find out, hey, this is really valuable. I can package this up and sell this to a lot of people. That's where a lot of products come from. You know, they say in invention, or I don't know how it goes, but invention is the mother of necessity. I had it backwards.
Yeah.
Necessity is the mother of invention. I had it backwards there. But it's so true. In many cases, we can't find what we want, so we make it. You know, we figure it out. And because you did that, you've done the hard work, you've now got a saleable product. If the market exists, that's a key component. If the market exists, that's why you have to do your research and your analysis and make sure you're not spinning your wheels creating something for a market that was only an army of one. You know, make sure you're not an army of one when you're creating a product for a market. You want an army of many to sell to. So, all right. Anything else before we wrap her up here? All right, guys. Well, hey, thank you all for coming on here and participating, and your questions are great. They lead to, I think, great trainings. So keep up the good work. Be back on, I believe, regular time next week. So get out there, start working on your big ideas, put this stuff in motion. The stuff will really help you guys. And this year, you can make it your best ever. You just got to put the pedal down, get that flywheel turning. All right, guys, have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon.